Matildas throw the kitchen sink but fall short in the Asian Cup final. Adam Taggart surges ahead as Perth's leading scorer in the A-League era, and Perth's men and women's sides hold on for grim deaths for any hope of finals. Welcome to the Far Post Perth, powered by ID Athletic. Download the latest football catalogue, idathletic.com, and Tria Homes. If you're looking to build, redesign or renovate, visit triahomes.com.au. Blaine Treadgold is my name, going around the table, and a big welcome back after a week off. Jackson Bassett's with us, mate. Welcome back.
Thank you, Blaine.
What do we got? FC, what is it? Inter Miami?
Yep.
FC Miami, whatever they're called?
Yep, third kit with the Adidas trefoil, which they've brought back for a lot of the away kits for the World Cup coming up, I believe. They did a massive launch in like LA or some massive.
So they've got rid of the triangle type. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for all the away kits for the teams they're supplying, they've gone with the classic kind of logo, which I think is pretty cool. And they've done it for a lot of third kits for clubs as well. And this is probably my favorite kit that got released this year, like the very light blue and with Messi on the back, of course.
Old school Adidas stuff, boys. You missed a great era of the 80s and 90s.
I didn't really have a choice, Blaine. I just sort of came out.
Blame your parents.
I will say, we didn't mention it when we had the kid dealer on, but I think Adidas in the last couple of years have really been spot on with a lot of kits they've been doing.
Yep. No, very good. I don't mind that, actually. James Renson's back. Renson, how's things, mate?
Good.
Yeah. Good. Anything to reveal?
No.
No
really.
Kit knowledge? Nothing?
Nothing.
No. Okay, very good. We'll crack on, boys. Good, bad, and ugly. Let's get into it. Jackson, kick us off. What's been good?
Jacob Italiano, pretty good week for him. I love doing a little Aussies abroad, especially when they're playing in a league in a country that doesn't naturally get a lot of attention. I don't think there's a large percentage of Aussie football fans who are paying much attention to the Austrian leagues, but hat-trick for his club side, Grazer AK, on the weekend in a 5-1 away win. Just continues the form that earned him a Socceroos call-up a couple months ago. Had a few years at Mönchengladbach in their reserves team or one of their underage sides. Didn't really crack through to the first team. Was there for a couple of years, but he's really found his footing in Austria and has been really good. And I think getting that call-up just a sign of the improvement that he's made over the years. Because when he was at Glory, there were signs that he was going to be a great player. Probably didn't hit the heights that we would have liked to see. Like in terms of goal numbers and assist numbers, the contributions weren't on the higher end, but you could see the raw potential there. And it's great that he's been able to move abroad, really show it, and start knocking on the door for that Socceroos, especially with the World Cup only a couple months away.
He was one of those players, and I kind of liken him to Daniel Da Silva, maybe to a lesser extent Daniel Azzani as well, but I remember him coming through the ranks, and you're 100% right. He was a guy who always showed plenty of promise. Got the move to Bayern Munich, I think.
Mönchengladbach.
Was it straight there from Perth?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, because it was at the back end of Popper's season.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, which club is he with now?
Grazer AK in the Austrian Bundesliga.
Gotta admit, I don't know much about them at all. No.
I think he was at Sturm Graz before that.
Yes, he was, yep. But I think he was mostly in their twos because I don't think he had many consistent minutes through injury or whatever. So
probably similar to what it was like in Germany as well.
Yeah.
So getting first team football, that's another important message, I guess, is that getting first team football is probably it's more important.
You could probably lock him in for that right wing back spot in the Socceroos. That's my big call.
Yeah,
I think that.
Well, I mean, who else is there now?
Well, unless you go a little bit woke and have Sammy Silvera, is he fit? Is he playing, or is he injured?
Yeah, because I mean,
because it's probably going to be a winger of sorts that'll be playing at right wing back because Popper would be one.
You would have had Lewis there, wouldn't you?
I assume so.
If he wasn't injured,
yeah.
So,
but just now by power of deduction, it's
yeah. Interesting. Anyone else from the A-League? Would you any bolsters for that position from the A-League?
To play that role, probably not.
No. Interesting times.
Yeah.
Keep us rolling, mate.
Tags.
Yeah.
Breaking the record.
Yeah, very good.
congratulations to him. It's a significant achievement, particularly with him being a Perth boy and a Perth fan through and through, and someone that, has a lot of passion for the club and has stuck with the club through some very difficult and crap times. For him to have broken the record in front of the shed was poetically captured, if you like, and displayed. Obviously, it would have been better if it was under better circumstances where, let's say, we were really fighting for finals and really giving it a red-hot crack. But, delighted for him. Of course, I would have loved to have seen him finish a few more of those chances that he had in the game, but it's been one of those seasons for him where he just hasn't had that consistency, mostly through to niggling injuries that have kept him out of the side or made it difficult for him to get that consistency that he would have had in previous seasons. So, I'm just delighted for him, and that's a positive that we can have for what has otherwise been a fairly underwhelming season, I would say.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It is interesting. And he obviously hasn't had the best of times this year compared to obviously last year and everything else, even from a personal standpoint. But I mean, he hasn't been allowed to just due to that lack of delivery. But even when he has had his opportunities, you feel like there's been when he scored that one, there was almost a sense of relief. Like, finally, I can put one in the back of the net. The confidence looks like it's been down for the last few weeks.
Well, I think he was alluding to that in his post game interview, where he felt like there was that monkey on the back about breaking the record because he obviously equalled it in that Brisbane game in mid-January.
Yeah,
and he hadn't scored since. And obviously, it's been a topic of discussion this season around Tags and his performances, and that, what we've been accustomed to seeing, in that stage season or in that driller season where, if you gave him some chances, he'd score. But it's like he's had chances this season and he's missed uncharacteristically quite a few of them. So I think that the secret to getting the best out of him is giving him more volume. And it was a game that we had against Melbourne City where I don't think he's had that kind of volume at all this season. Maybe the Melbourne victory game, Griff's first game as the interim, where he had like 8 chances or something, which was just something that we haven't had for Tags and our forwards in general. So Griff touched on it post game that we need to create more chances, and hopefully we can start doing that against Mariners after international break.
Yep, very, very good. Boys, I kind of had the crowd on the weekend, and we had a bit of a discussion about this prior to going on air, and I looked at the crowd figure of 6,000, the reported crowd figure that's been posted, and I thought, that looks about right. And the reason I say the crowd is because it was a big weekend of football. We've got local football back all over Saturday. NPL's back, State League's back. Juniors are gearing up. There was a lot happened. They had the Matildas. Everyone was in a little bit of Asian Cup fever over the weekend with the Matildas on in the front of everyone's mind as well. So I thought the crowd that kind of came on Sunday when they could have just said, look, the team's not performing too well, or just made any other excuse not to come, I thought it was all right. And I thought even despite it being a Sunday, there was still plenty of enthusiasm. There's probably a few drinks being had in the shed area and a bit of buoyancy from them. But I thought it was okay. Other than that, good. And I'll get to a little bit of why this is good, and then I'll kind of contrast that with my bad a little bit later on. But just the support for the Matildas, I thought, was pretty good across the tournament.
Was it a record crowd that they had for the final?
Correct. Yeah. We can go into the other kind of crowds which weren't great on face value, but obviously we're getting told, hey, when we last had the Asian Cup, this is a significant increase, and I think that's right. But I don't think that the scheduling didn't help.
No way. Like, just some of the games that we had here in Perth, like during a work and school day, and it's like,
and the double headers,
it's
and
just
all kinds
it's like, it's aesthetically a bad look, but I mean, what more can the teams do? It's what the schedule is. So,
going back to the Matildas, I think the support for them was good. It was a little bit unsure of what to expect after the World Cup? Would we get full Tilly's fever like we did throughout the World Cup? But then I look at it at a Nation Cup and you're going to go, no, it's going to be a little bit more simmered out than that. But I think ultimately the crescendo and the support for the Matildas, and even after they went into the final, there was still plenty of people walking away going, hey, they did pretty well, and they did. I think we can talk about that a little bit later on as well. But I just thought the support for the Matildas over the last few weeks has been pretty good. Jackson, what's been bad?
I guess what you just spoke about kind of ties in nicely with my bad. The decision to have the Matildas fan event / thank you on the day after the final, I didn't think it was the wisest decision. And I understand there would have been no better time to do it, given that the players have to go back on club duty pretty much straight away. And, it was on a Sunday. So I understand, logistically, that was the best time to do it, but I'm not surprised the players weren't in the best of moods for all the people who turned out in that weather. It's going to take longer than 24 hours for them to heal and reflect on the heartbreak of losing that final, despite playing quite well. Just the fact that it was their last and only chance for that whole squad probably to win a major tournament on home soil, and it's I think the players will admit it's probably the best chance. It's probably the best chance they'll have at winning silverware for the Matildas. I know we've got another Asian Cup in a couple of years. We've got the Olympics and World Cup as well, but this was the golden chance for them, and
we fumbled it.
We did fumble it.
I don't know if we fumbled it. Let's be purely honest about this, and we can go on this a little bit deeper when we do speak about the Matildas. We went up against a far superior side, system, coach, everything in Japan.
Are we going to say Nils Nielsen is a better coach than Joe Montemurro?
Well, I'm going to say with what he had. I mean, the cards that they were dealt, the Japanese football system, and if you want to look at their international sides as the shop window of that, they are in a far better spot than Australian football is. That's not to say that when you go out there on the day, it's not you don't have a 50-50 chance of winning it.
Yeah, but we showed our quality specifically on the game. We did show our ability to get into those dangerous areas of the pitch. It's just we weren't clinical, and that was the story of our season. Meanwhile, I think Japan, I might have the number wrong.
I don't think we're allowed to be clinical, though.
Well, Japan, they scored, I think, throughout the whole tournament, I think it was 29 goals, and they only conceded once.
Yeah, correct.
That's how you show that you're a good team. Meanwhile, the Matildas had ample opportunities to prove that.
Yeah.
And we couldn't. Yeah, we have quality players. So, no, I think it's on the players. And I know that's a harsh take because I know everyone was definitely proud of the fact that we made it to a final. And look, sometimes you play against a top side like Japan, all they need is one chance and good luck trying to break them down. But for us, with the quality of players that we have and the clubs that they play for, we should be expecting better than a 1-0 loss.
I personally think that previous tournaments, not say the World Cup, but prior to that, Olympics, the last Olympics, huge disappointment.
Yeah.
Asian Cups prior to that, huge disappointment.
She believes.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's like we've spoken about this being a golden generation of Australian female players that have gone on to do fantastic things for their clubs and make moves overseas, and yet they've never fulfilled their potential for the Matildas, I would argue. I know that might be a bit of a hot take, but it's like this team, for some of the talent that it had, the fact that it's not walking away with a piece of silverware when you've got other countries in Asia or Europe that are doing it, or even the United States, we've fumbled a lot of great opportunities. So that's probably one of the blights against what has been an outstanding group. But it's like, for me, when we should be looking to take that next step forward as a footballing country. And Joe Montemurro sort of said, what do we want to be for the next 10 to 15 years? I don't think we've got as good a group that are coming through.
Oh, no, I think you're 100% right. So, and where does that stem from?
Yeah, that's a good question.
People were very, very critical of Gustafsson for not bringing that next gen through as well.
Yep.
We had a similar thing, though, with this tournament as well, with the subs. We didn't really see... We saw the main sort of players, and we didn't see enough of the whole squad In my opinion, I think they could have utilised that better, especially in the later stages of the tournament. But I guess when you've got Fowler, Kerr, and Ford up top, then it's like taking one of those off is a very risky decision.
Who had a better front three than what we did on paper in the Asian Cup?
Front three. I mean, Japan didn't really play a front three.
But let's just say on paper, just for argument's sake, Fowler, Kerr, Ford.
It'd be one or two.
It'd have to be one of the best.
Yeah.
And who stood up in the final?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a tough learning experience, there's no doubt, but it's an opportunity for the next players that are coming through. And look, we're already having some doubts already about their potential and whether they're good enough. But this is a great challenge for them to see if it can be this group that can take that next step and win silverware.
Let's keep that powder dry because we'll go a little bit more into the Matildas. But interesting conversation. We'll pick that up a little bit later on. Keep us rolling in with your bad, James.
Western Sydney Wanderers.
Woo!
Holy crap. So that game against Adelaide, I thought they were pretty poor, but then Gary Van Egmond decided to get the double-barreled shotgun and go bang basically straight after. And look, I enjoyed his comments. I don't think we have enough of them in Australian football, the honesty that he had. And I loved that in his post-game presser, the journo was sort of leading in going, it was a bit of a tough result for you. And then Gary's like, nah, it wasn't unfortunate. And then he just went bang. Yeah. And they're a shambles, Western Sydney. I mean, for the facilities that they have at Blacktown, considering that there are clubs in the A-League that, financially are in deep shit. Newcastle recently had to pay some sort of legacy thing towards the ATO. They had some wind-up issues. But you look at the facilities that Western Sydney Wanderers players have and the resources that they have with a billionaire owner. How's it possible that they're last currently?
I'm with you. I spoke about this exact same thing on another radio show, and I said, look, you've got the heartland of Australian football and the support of 3 million people out in the western regions of Sydney, and
you've got so many fans that just feel burnt, and it's like, well, what is their direction? What is their identity? And that was something that Gary was kind of speaking about, in that there is no game model. You've got Popper, who was AC/DC, and then you've got Gombau, who was, I can't remember the exact comparison that he had, but Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a complete contrast, but it's like ever since Popper left Western Sydney, they have had no identity, direction, or vision that's been sustainable. They've had bleats of success here and there with Rudin and Stajic, but otherwise it's been a disaster. So be interesting to see who the next coach is.
Yeah,
but I'll leave that.
We'll bang on about that a little bit later as well. Boys, my bad, and I want to contrast this with what I said a little bit earlier, that the support for the Matildas by the public was pretty good, and I thought it was even good here in Perth. Plenty of people getting out and plenty of people kind of jumping on the bandwagon, which was good. But for all the huffing and puffing, this tournament looks destined to be another lost opportunity to enhance the game here in Australia. We have absolutely dropped the ball. Football Australia, the football communities, the member federations, the clubs, everyone. No one is immune from this criticism, because as a footballing community, we have absolutely lost the plot as far as getting some kind of legacy, and we keep talking about this.
We're pretty good at doing that.
We're terrible at doing that. And for all the huffing and puffing that there needs to be a legacy, I really don't think there will be one. There's even this talk about what's happening over in New South Wales, Football Australia, Football New South Wales, Football Northern New South Wales coming together to put this report together that they need 150-odd million to get it up to speed on where football should be. As I said, it's huffing and puffing and won't come to much, unfortunately. The lobbying efforts of football need to increase. The business model needs to change. It needs some huge amount of streamlining as far as our lobbying efforts towards governments go. It's that's the bad side for me, is that we all want to be able to walk away with some kind of tangible legacy, but I fear there simply won't be one.
Who's going to remember this specific Asian Cup tournament in 5 years' time?
Nah, there'll be nothing.
Yeah.
There'll be
So
nothing out of it.
it's like we had an opportunity, and as standard procedure in Australian football, and it's not just a Matildas thing; it's also a Socceroos thing. It's football in Australia, and we just find new and creative ways to balls things up.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, and this is what I always go back on is, there might be the odd little bit of funding that goes out somewhere. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But we need to remember that football comes from so far back that any improvements in the ones, twos, fives, millions doesn't make a dent in it. That's how far behind the ball that we are. We need 153 million, or I think it was. Excuse me if I got those figures wrong, but I know it's around that ballpark figure.
It's significant investment.
In one state alone.
Yep, we need more.
So
Very simple.
Yeah, that's my bad. Is that just that disappointment that we might walk away with not much to show for it. Jackson, what's been ugly?
Some players stand up in big games or against certain teams, and others do not. They do the exact opposite. And when it comes to the Carabao Cup final, Kepa Arrizabalaga has a very poor history. So we'll go back to 2019 for the first example, when he was playing for Chelsea and went to extra time, was 0-0, had what we thought was an injury. Maurizio Sarri wanted to bring him off. He refused, stayed on.
Yep.
Did save one penalty at least, but Chelsea lost that final.
Yep.
Then skip forward 3 years later, on the bench this time against Liverpool.
Yep.
Gets brought on as the specialist keeper for the shootout. Doesn't save a single penalty.
Didn't he have he was standing to the side for Van Dijk, and then Van Dijk blasted it past him?
Yes, there was that, and then he blazed his own penalty over to lose the shootout. And then we cut to this year, playing for Arsenal, and I'll give him credit. He had been pretty good in that tournament up until this point. But there was a lot of conjecture and debate amongst Arsenal fans about whether they should have played him to reward him for his cup form, or whether they should have played David Raya because he's a superior goalkeeper. And in the end, the people who were calling for Raya to start, they ended up being correct and had a moral high ground to stand on, because it was his initial error which led to Nico O'Reilly scoring the opening goal. And from then, Arsenal weren't able to recover, lost it 2-0, a game that they would have been favourites going into, and considering all the potential talk about them doing a quadruple just down the toilet in one fell swoop. So disappointing for them, and at least now we can get some more bottle comments in before they inevitably win the league.
What are Arsenal without set pieces? It's going to be an absolute travesty to the game, the beautiful game of football that's had thousands and thousands and thousands of years, if Arsenal end up winning major trophies this season after playing some of the most ugliest, disgusting football anyone has laid their eyes over.
What did you think about City not pressing them at all when they had the ball, like when the goalkeeper had the ball?
Just how bad these fraud pseudo robots are for Arsenal. They can't play football. We've got to get a corner, otherwise we're useless. And again, it's going to be a disgrace if they end up winning the league, which they probably will. But they can always bottle things, and hopefully they do that. So we'll see.
We'll keep that rolling, mate.
My ugly, fairly breaking news. Ufuk Talay deciding to drop a bombshell. And it was interesting seeing the reactions of several fan bases, because this had a lot of implications. So obviously, Talay had not been very popular with the Sydney FC fans. A lot had wanted him gone as far back as last season. He had a 1-year extension, stayed. They're not doing too badly on the table, albeit they did lose to the Newcastle Jets this weekend. But yeah, he resigned, and then Patrick Kisnorbo, out of nowhere, he had his WWE entrance, and he's back in the A-League. Back for another club where he's going to have even more people hating him. So he had the Melbourne Victory fans with the snake comments everywhere, and then you had Western Sydney fans going, fuck, does this mean Talay's off to Blacktown? Very likely he is, but I think it's a bad look when you've got obviously an out-of-contract coach, so he's obviously free to explore his options, but when he's negotiating with your main rivals, I mean, that's a very bad look. And
but he would have been given permission to do that.
Do we know? Do we know all the ins and outs? I just think it's a bad look. And if Sydney FC are catching wind, like you're meeting with the owners,
yeah. But usually the way it works is Wanderers will actually come to Sydney FC,
right,
and say,
we want your coach.
We want to have
because he is off
chat.
contract. So that
We want to have a chat.
Yeah, I get it on that perspective, but I just think it's
usually not always. Usually,
I'm obviously caveating that I don't know obviously the ins and outs. It's just it's very likely that Tale will go to Western Sydney. Patrick is Norbo as the Sydney FC coach.
I reckon it's locked in because I've got this as my ugly, but I put it as ugly but delicious because it's this whole kind of thing of Tale, Sydney FC, Patrick is Norbo, Wanderers.
Wow.
All in bed with each other and all ready to kick each other out already.
Yeah, and you've got Saturday the 11th of April, 5:35 at Combank Stadium, West Sydney Wanderers versus Sydney FC.
The Ufuk Tale derby.
Very much so, if he is even given the job over the international break.
How's the timing of this, though? It's really odd timing, isn't it?
Why on a Tuesday?
I was thinking more, if it's the coach's call, it's a really bad look to be abandoning ship with the season
sitting in fifth,
sitting in fifth,
boys.
with 4 games to go in the regular season and finals on the horizon.
Correct.
Yeah, well, I think it just adds a bit of spice to a league that suffers from being very bland and boring.
Not only finals, but a possible spot in Asia.
Yeah, well, should make things interesting. Hopefully, should put more bums on seats.
We've got to remember is that Newcastle they're already in Asia because they won the cup.
Yep.
So they will go. Should they win the league, they'll go straight into the ACL Elite.
Oh.
So does that... There was talk about whether that goes back to the league as far as Auckland can't go through because they're all part of...
So then it'd be third, wouldn't it?
So it'd be third, which Melbourne Victory's currently in third, aren't they?
Yes.
So, I mean, Sydney FC and
Adelaide, that could be a sneaky as well. So.
Exactly right. Or does it go to Heidelberg as the runner-up of the Cup?
Be nice if Heidelberg was there, but I just think I'd be a little concerned about logistically how it'll all work.
Oh no, absolutely. But I reckon good
for the better of the game. But
I don't know the criteria. Does it go back to the league or does it go back to the Cup? I think it probably goes back to the league.
That'd make more sense. But yeah, as I was saying, it'd be nice if Heidelberg had it.
Yeah, well, but you still need one from the Cup, don't you?
I assume so.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So Newcastle automatically take that spot in the ACL Elite for winning the league, if that's how it pans out. And then you still need a rep from
that's
that
the AFC that make that call, right? Or to be the APL?
It'd probably already be written.
Jeez. Yeah, well.
It'd be written in a clause somewhere, surely. But, yeah. Yeah.
Be interesting
and I think we're still sitting on 2 spots, aren't we? Did we get another one?
Not sure what our coefficient
Can't remember.
Like.
Yeah. I think we're still below China because of Melbourne City.
Bloody city.
All this bottling of the Buriram United.
Yeah.
Well, that was a shocking game, but anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, boys, a bit of ugliness to but beautifully delicious coaching roundabout in the A-League. Don't we love it?
The recycling bin.
Let's take a bit of a break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll chat a little bit of Perth Glory in the A-League right after this.
Tired of the same old cookie-cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Julbich at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Welcome back to the Far Post Perth podcast, boys. Let's take a little bit of a look back to Sunday afternoon, specifically Perth Glory 1, Melbourne City 1. Daniel Lazani Maybe a little bit against the run of play. I think that Perth probably got off to a really good start. Obviously, that first shot in anger after about 25 seconds from Steph Kolakovsky. Melbourne City getting themselves back into it. And then it was kind of a little bit of nothing for certain periods throughout this game.
It was boring.
Yeah, it got into some real... sleepy territory, and then all of a sudden that man Adam Taggart becomes the Perth Glory's
all-time A-League.
Correct. All-time A-League.
You got Bobby and Damien Morey that are still ahead of him, I think.
Correct. Now, so what do we make of it anyway? What do we make of the game, Jackson?
Oh, you're asking the wrong person. This particular
Did you
week.
fall asleep as well?
No, my eyes were elsewhere this weekend. So I've not been a very good Glory fan the last couple of weeks, to be honest. But no, just from following along and seeing the highlights, it did. I think, as you alluded to, it did seem like a bit of a nothing game. Only really kicked off towards the end, where it seemed like the Glory had a real flurry of chances in the last 10 to 15 minutes. Probably could have nabbed an equaliser earlier.
Yeah,
and then what do you got there?
I was just there's a clip that sort of sums up what the first 80 minutes was. See if it comes.
Here we go.
There's absolutely no. Sometimes you look at teams, you think, right, they're trying to build down one side. It literally is scatter, throw it up in the air, see what happens. To dare is to poo.
So I put that out on my socials. Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's great.
So, I was watching that, and because I was hoping to see a response, because I thought the Wellington game, it was a genuinely dismally crap effort where it was like, what am I wasting my... Is it Saturday or Sunday afternoon?
It was Sunday morning, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. So
Sunday morning, yeah.
Saturday shit morning. Show. Anyway, I was waiting to see, like, okay, if we're going to have this chat about the league's unpredictable and maybe we want to play in the finals, and it's like, okay, surely, like, let's see a little bit more. Like, the collar chance initially, that was great, but still our procedures and our methods on the ball leave a lot to be desired, and I still have loads of questions about, okay, if we keep things as they are next season and if you sign better players, how are things suddenly going to scale to the point where we look better on the ball, or defensively we're more solid, or we can control games more and create even more chances rather than relying on 10 minutes at the end of the game. So it did feel like a little bit of a waste of time, and if I was one of those 6,000 that was there, I'm not sure I'd want to come back for the game against Macarthur on Sunday in a couple of weeks' time at, I think, 5 o'clock. So I don't know where the incentive is for that.
What day of the week's that?
It's a Sunday.
Oh, Sunday at 5.
Sunday at 5, yeah.
That is going to be grim.
Very, yeah. Sunday the 12th of April. So, yeah, it's like, I didn't see many, if any, encouraging signs, and I think probably a lot of fans would be in that agreement where, without Tom Lawrence and Reece Bozanovsky, this team has not a lot that's special about it.
Have we seen the last of Tom Lawrence? Because I'm starting to think we may have.
He was in the members' lounge afterwards, and he was sort of saying it's a week-by-week type proposition, but I'm concerned that I think we don't see him for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I wonder how long it's been a week-by-week proposition for. And just, are we really surprised by this? This has been multiple weeks now where the Glory have not really gelled in attack, and where structure and system haven't really aligned and been very pretty or attractive to watch. So why should we expect it just to suddenly change, in the space of a week or so? Like, this is going to be a pattern that we're going to see to the end of the season. I'm just convinced of it.
I just hate the idea, like, we've got Griff that's wanting to proclaim to be a possession-oriented coach that needs technical players, yet the behaviours and the habits that are being allowed by the players are maladaptive to a possession-oriented side. It's like, why are you saying we can go long when we lose it all the time, be it from a goal kick or be it whenever Scott Wooden's on the ball? Like, if I'm an opposition scout or coach, what am I looking at Perth Glory and going, this is how they're going to hurt us, or this is where we need to be really switched on? Like, there's nothing with how we play that gives any sort of threat. The amount of heavy lifting that the likes of Lawrence and Bozanovsky were doing, they were covering a lot of the cracks. And I think when we eventually do our season review, this is a big reason why we're not fighting amongst it with the teams in the top 6, because we just have nothing special that's about how we play.
I think Bozanovsky is a far bigger loss than Lawrence on what we've seen. I think you could almost... I wonder if there's a correlation to when he went to where
Heracles?
this dip happened.
Yes, there is. Because if you look at the XG created and XG conceded after the Auckland win, our XG bar the Melbourne City game has gone like downwards. Meanwhile, our XG conceded has gone up.
Okay.
That's been the concerning trend.
I'm right, and
You're right.
I haven't had a look at the stats. This is just perception.
Just to counter, didn't Lawrence also go down at a similar point?
Did he? Yeah, you might be right.
It was around January.
Yeah, so the Auckland game, that's when obviously Bozza left, and then we had the MacArthur game where Loz did his foot midway through the
so it's
second
about
half.
the same time. So
pretty much,
you lose both of them, and I'm still so frustrated with Pennington playing out wide because he's given a license to come inwards. Then what's the point of him playing out wide? It doesn't make any sense.
Because he has to be there for goal kicks.
Christ.
That's his only function. Because it's like when we were building out, which we don't even do, it's like you've got Pennington that's coming in, but there's no one that's asking questions on the right side. It's like there's just this weird clump of a mess. That is like, well, how are you? It's like Melbourne City, they can just sit there. There's no problem. They know, okay, we're just going to be ready for the long ball.
It's so narrow.
I know. But it's like, that's why I'm going to Griff. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, you can mention Sarah, you can mention I want to be a possession-oriented coach, I need technical players, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, what are we seeing, man? Like, even if you get those players, why is the system and the method suddenly going to change?
But create that width, you create gaps in the middle of the park to pass through, to play that possession game.
That's you're using way too much common sense and obvious thinking that every fan can see in the stands, but seemingly we're just not executing as a team.
Yeah.
This was very similar to when we had Stadge as coach, and there were issues that arose, but we felt like we kept just doing the same thing over and over again. I remember back that season there was a lot of talk about Giordano Colli getting minutes ahead of other players and with Stadge being very rigid and not willing to change much. It does feel like Griff is in a bit of the same boat where we're seeing very similar thing occur. He's got his favourites. Freeney and Diabra are clearly his preferred midfield too. And it just seems like there's no wiggle room for Pennington to get in there as well.
But just on that, who else plays in the mid three but besides those three? I don't think there is anyone else.
No.
Timmins filled in.
You could probably say maybe Tavia.
Yeah. Actually, that's not a bad shout.
So you could, but this is the thing. Why not experiment with your shape? So let's say you have maybe Will or maybe it's Gio that is sitting, and then you have the other along with Tavia or Pennington playing a little bit high. So you've got three in midfield.
I think week after week after week we get overloaded in the midfield, that 2v3 kind of scenario. But I think I wouldn't go with Freeney and Tavia just because I think you need someone with some kind of experience.
You sort of need Brandon O'Neill, but we just don't want to use him in the team, even though he's the only natural six that we've got. So this is where our midfield composition.
Well, Timmins is a 6.
Not a pure 6 though. Can he hold as a holding 6? I don't really think that's his game.
Not as a holding 6, but as a screen. Yeah.
But and it's like you look at our midfield. It's like you've got a lot of the same profile, but it's like when you need a bit of variance, it's like, oh shit, we actually don't have that. So that's a concern. And Bozanovsky was doing a mountain of work, and it's like Griffith's wanting this seemingly archetypal profile of player that's just covers this ground at high speed and can do what Bozanovsky can do, but that's not what Will or Gio are as good at, nor is it really their game.
And this will probably be a week-by-week question, boys, but does Adam Griffiths go on beyond the end of the season?
I really think it depends on the ladder position and how the next 4 games go.
So what's the benchmark?
I think the benchmark should be...
because
9th or above.
9th or above? See, I don't think we should even be looking down a position. I think we should probably be looking at more...
like a points total?
Points total.
So what do we think? Like... getting above, we're on 23 at the moment with 4 games to go.
Which the Mariners away, Bulls at home, Sydney away, Brisbane
I think I read that we were pushing 1.38 points per game average at the moment. I think I read that somewhere. So currently we sit in 11th, 22 played, 6 wins, 5 draws, 11 losses, 25 and 35, a goal difference of -10 on 23 points. We're only 2 clear of the Wanderers. Just to give you a little bit of the context and everything else, MacArthur sitting 6th. They are on 28 points. Newcastle lead the league on 43 points.
Look, I think you need to be having that discussion of a new coach because you've had 20 games with Griff, which is more than a fair sample size, and he's had mostly fit iterations of our best starting 11 on paper, and there's no evidence to suggest that things are suddenly going to scale for next season.
Can I throw a name at you?
Sure.
Ante Milicic.
Would he leave the China job to...
He's left.
Oh.
He's a free agent.
Would he want to come to Perth? That's the next question then.
I'll give you another name.
Who?
Stan Lazaridis.
No.
What about Stan?
The connection between Milicic and Lazaridis would be there.
I think Laz is going to be on the phone saying, "Hey,
I'm not going to accuse anyone of doing anything, but I would not be surprised."
It's clear what our issues are on the pitch, tactically speaking, and what our squad needs from a profile perspective, but I'm not very confident that we'll identify what we need to fix and implement those solutions. So if you go and get a Milicic, for example, is he going to be that coach that can convert us into being a finals team? Is there evidence to suggest that?
I don't know.
Do you?
But I would suggest that if the board of directors is looking for change, that is probably one person that they will be looking towards.
Yeah, you could put an argument for him. It's just you need, I think, as much of an assured bet as possible. And obviously, but I think you need someone that, if at the very least, can implement a brand of football that the fans are going to want to come back and see every week, and they can see that it's building and going somewhere.
You know what? It would be a massive full circle moment to have Ante Milicic, someone who was given absolute dog's abuse back in the NSL when he was at Parramatta, like he copped it from the shed to come and coach Perth. I wonder if those around that are a little bit older remember that.
Well, I mean, it's something that you have to consider because he is an experienced coach. He's worked with Popper. He's worked with Ange. He did an okay job with MacArthur.
Yep.
He's seemingly done okay with China. It's just the question is going to have to be about scale.
Yeah,
can we? Because this isn't going to just be a.
As I said, I'm throwing this.
No,
out
but
I
like the suggestion in Milicic because it's an experienced, safe pair of hands.
Yeah,
and you know what you're getting versus what we had with Griff and Driller to an extent where it was like, what have we just opened up?
Yeah, we
don't even know what we're going to get. So I think it's a discussion worth having.
Yeah, as I said, I'm just throwing it and seeing what catches, Jackson.
Yeah. No, I like it. I think it's worthy of conversation. I think these are the conversations that need to be had.
And it's all that same era. It's that Stan Lazaridis kind of Socceroo era and everything else like that.
Yeah, but it's like,
falls into line. It falls into line.
It does, but it's like, well, then what's our criteria? Because I don't feel we have an identity as to where we're going as a football club. I know, and it's like,
and that's why this fits perfectly.
Connection. Friends, football friends, Socceroo friends, yeah.
Great. Anything else on Perth, boys? Anything else before we move on?
Not in the men's game, no.
We'll get into the women's in very, very shortly. Let's have a look at other results. Of course, you mentioned the Wanderers in our good, bad, and the ugly, getting done 4-2 by Adelaide. Adelaide just keeps on keeping on, don't they?
So how are they in the top four and Perth Glory Football Club or not?
Well, they've won more games than Perth.
Yeah, no shit. But how is that on their squad that many people would have predicted would have finished towards the bottom end? How are they in the top four?
No, I don't know. They've just they've done it. They've got to run a consistency and they've picked up points.
Good question. Question.
But they're hugely under the radar. I think
they play some outstanding football.
Well, I can't see them really having anything to do with winning the league, but I think come finals time, I don't think you want to go up against them.
At Coopers especially, forget about it. That's going to be a very tough place to go.
Yeah, especially like a two-legged.
We're going to have Craig Goodwin back, I would think, for the final series. So I don't know how far they can go, but when you watch them play and you see the young players that they have, as an Adelaide fan, you'd be going, yeah, our future is in safe hands.
Auckland shit the bed against MacArthur. Jackson, going down 2-1.
Would you say shit the bed, or would you say MacArthur are actually pretty good?
Well, I had them winning the league, but they're sitting in sixth at the moment. And considering Auckland need to try and chase down Newcastle and the gap's now 4 points, I think they shit the bed, especially at home.
Oh, if you ask Francis de Vries, I don't think he would think so. Did you see the question that he got asked post-game?
No, enlighten us.
Oh, I don't have the exact quote in front of me.
Paraphrase.
But it was pretty much it was the reporter, whoever it was like, you had all these fans turn up to watch you today. Where were you guys? and he
That is brilliant. That
and
is-
he basically just waved it off and was like, "Yeah, okay." So I thought that was quite humorous. I guess that's why I brought that point. I didn't think they were from what I saw. I didn't think they were absolutely terrible. They probably should have won the game.
Yeah.
There's an expectation there that at home, just given their quality, yes.
Just the scenario of trying to chase down Newcastle and then just,
I wouldn't go as far to say they shit the bed, but they would be disappointed
There's
not
an
to have
argument.
won. Yeah, I can see the argument, but they'd definitely be very disappointed, and it seems like it's Newcastle's to lose at this point.
Wellington 2, Brisbane 1. Boys, anything on those two? Neither of them are going to play finals?
Well, Wellington is where Glory should be, really, when you think about it. I mean, they had a really poor run of form. They were sitting in 11th or 12th a couple of weeks ago, but they've picked up 7 points from their last 9 games, and they're now knocking on the door of the top 6. It's very unlikely because I think they've got three. They've got three of their last 4
Victory
away from home.
City away, Western Sydney at home, MacArthur away.
Yeah, but that home game isn't at. It's not at the Cake Tin. It's somewhere else in New Zealand.
Apollo Project Stadium is what it's saying.
What's that? That might be down
Christchurch.
Is it Christchurch? Napier?
Might be,
Somewhere
yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
So it seemed unlikely that they're going to.
Might be in Whakatane.
Yeah, well, I think the point is you've got Brisbane and Perth who were presumed to deliver a lot this season, given how comical they have been, and yet they're both back where they belong. So it was just this fake feeling that they're back when it's like, no, you're not. And it's like Brisbane fans, I think they're probably done with Valkanis because I think the gimmick's probably worn quite thin.
No, I don't think they are.
Well,
I think they're pretty solid, Brisbane up there at the moment.
Do they want to go to, like, how many people did they have at Suncorp?
Yeah.
So do we need to go into a crowd conversation about there again because it didn't look good?
4,000,
No,
I think. I think it was 4,000 against
But
Wellington.
what else are they meant to do now? Like
Overhaul the back room and actually have proper people at their football club. I mean, they've consistently had a go at the backeries. Maybe the fans have a point. They've gone through. I mean, I know they've gone.
This has been going on for a decade.
About time they did something about it, and it's like there's been some criticism against Kaz and Zach.
Yeah.
This is their direction. Where's the improvement? I know they've had injuries. I know they've had, all sorts. And Valkanis, having his old rants every now and again and saying, I'm not going to talk about the referees in this one.
Yeah.
I'd be fatigued if I was a Brisbane fan. Why would I want to go to the next few games? So, and they're going to lose one of their bright young talents to Melbourne City, according to reports. So,
McQuinn.
Yeah, there you go.
Victory 4-1 over Central Coast. Stock standard victory, that one.
Yeah, it just seems to be.
Pardon the pun.
Seems to be more of the same when it comes to a lot of these games. We could wax lyrical about Juan Mata again, but I think we've done enough of that. Yeah, Victory have hit form at the right time. They're looking pretty good.
I'd probably more so say that this is form or the underlying numbers catching up with Central Coast. Central Coast have been one of the heaviest overperformers this season in the A-League, and it was about as bad as it gets from a defensive perspective. They had 34 shots that they faced, an XG conceded of 3.45. Melbourne Victory, of those shots, had 12 of those 34 shots on target, so it was an absolute onslaught. I think Warren Moon has done a fairly good job, all things considered, but I think now he's seeing with the limitations of his squad that when you play against those bigger sides that are getting ready for a finals campaign, that's when they're going to get their ass kicked.
No, fair enough. Sydney 1, Newcastle 2. Is that the result that gives Newcastle the league?
Yes.
What's the points gap now between them and
4?
Auckland? 4 with 4 games to go. You'd think what's the fixtures look like for Newcastle?
So for Newcastle, they've got MacArthur away, Adelaide at home, Victory away, and then Mariners at home.
See the next 3 coming up.
Potential banana peels,
not easy. But I think Auckland have a very similar run.
What do Auckland have? They have got.
I think they play the exact same opponents.
They've got Adelaide away, Victory at home, Mariners at home, Sydney away.
Jesus.
They're both equally tough runs home, but I think
good, isn't it?
Newcastle have got enough credit in the bank that
Good
I
run
think
in.
they'll see it out.
Finally, Sunday afternoon, as mentioned, Perth 1, Melbourne City 1. Boys, I've got a burning question.
Sure.
Is the top 6 settled? Because I feel it is. I think
with MacArthur sneaking in.
Correct. I think what we see at the moment in the top 6 is what remains there. I'm not going to say in exactly the same order, but I think that is the 6. So what do we got? Newcastle, Auckland, Adelaide, Melbourne, Victory,
Yeah, I think that'll stay as it
and
will.
MacArthur. Is that 6?
Yeah, I think MacArthur, they could probably pick up points against us. They could probably pick up points against Wellington and Mariners. They've got a very tough run home. Melbourne City, I thought, were crap.
I think that's the 6.
I think it's done. Yeah.
Yeah, if I had to put money on it, then that's what I would say.
All right, there we go. Burning question solved. Let's take a quick break. We'll come and have a quick look at the weekend. We'll get very, very local next. You're on the Far Post Perth podcast.
Tired of the same old cookie cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Julbich at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Final part of the Far Post Perth, Blaine Treadgold with Jackson Bassett and James Renton. Boys, we spoke about the Matildas when we first, got into our good, bad and our ugly, and that kind of we had a little bit of a discussion about whether they fell short, whether it was just the way that it kind of played out, or whether they've kind of hit their benchmarks. I want to come back to that conversation because I want to ask you, first of all, where was their benchmark heading into this tournament?
Had to win it.
Had to win it.
Yeah.
Based on what?
Based on the fact that it was at home, based on the squad that we had, this being the last hurrah, the potential that this team had, our performance in the World Cup. It was about time that this team demonstrated the potential that it had. When was it going to get a better opportunity to win some silverware?
Jackson, thoughts?
It's very hard to argue with that. But I think when we've had conversations in the last couple of weeks, I think we all said the making the final was at least the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So at least they did that. Yeah. Whether they're expected to win the whole thing, they were going as one of the favourites, but I don't think I can see it. I don't see it as a major disappointment. I mean, I think the players probably won't feel that way. I know the fans will be very disappointed that it didn't turn out the way we'd all hoped. But I wouldn't say it was a complete failure. I think they grew into the tournament, played their best game at the end, even though no matter how it turned out, whether we'd score first or whether it had stayed level for a while, I still think Japan had the quality to be able to adapt and win no matter what the scenario was.
Yeah.
So I guess based on that, given how class they were and even how class North Korea were in that quarterfinal, then I don't think we can be too disappointed with not winning it, although...
Let's go and say it.
So I do say although not too disappointed, they will be very disappointed.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's, looking a little bit more broadly, 2027 is the World Cup next year, isn't
Correct.
it?
In Brazil.
Do we see the same / similar squad?
No.
So who's, I'll give this one to you easier, who's not there that was here?
It's a good question. I don't think Katrina Gorry goes, obviously.
Okay.
She's in her mid-30s, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Does Sam want to go around, possibly?
Sam goes again.
Probably.
For me.
Alana Kennedy?
I don't think they can afford not to take Sam.
Yeah.
I think Alana Kennedy goes based on her MVP.
Yeah. Who else? There was Steph Catley. Did she go again? 32 years old.
I think most
of them go again.
Most of them go for the World Cup. After that, then
Emily,
that's a bigger
Emily Van
question.
Egmond, does she go again?
I think all of these players.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think majority of them go around again, providing their pick.
But I wonder.
Yes, that's the big
But I
question.
wonder what the starting 11 though looks like. Will there be is there some young players that can go on a run or can start performing and say, hey, now's the time to pass the torch?
I guess that's
the timing was a little bit unfortunate of the Asian Cup too. Remember, because we had Mary Fowler coming off a long-term injury.
Yeah.
Sam Kerr not quite back at her best, and she's probably not going to get there now with her age.
Yeah, but if you get
Kyra Cooney Cross, we didn't see the best out of. We lost Rasso for big periods. We lost Catley for big periods. And these aren't excuses, but it was the way
but it's awfully close though, because it's like we had the quality to go and win the tournament, I think. But even as far as the first game against the Philippines, we did not look.
Oh no, you're 100% right. I'm not denying that.
But even it's like you've just got to get on with it. These guys aren't playing in the A-League Women's. They're playing in the Women's Super League. They're playing in big competitions that are earning millions of dollars through their clubs or through sponsorships. They're a fantastic team that should have performed far better, and I think that's something that they will reflect back on and they'll go, we could have beaten Japan. We get Caitlin Ford got into some really great positions in that final. Really should have scored one or two. We should have put a little bit more pressure on Japan and forced some more opportunities if we could have, if we were better. But we couldn't find that extra gear that we had lots of opportunities to demonstrate all tournament, and yet we had all sorts of teams show us up, albeit we were lucky to get the job done.
You know what we struggle at being? We struggle at being as one of the favourites.
Yeah, we can't handle expectation. And that's the same with the Socceroos as well.
Exactly. So we always perform out of our skin when we're the underdogs.
But it's an Australian football thing.
Yeah,
it's weird, like we thrive on that underdog mentality,
correct,
which is why we can do well in Asia. But the moment we go and play those European sides or those South American sides, we get our ass kicked. And
not always though.
But okay, let's say for the Socceroos, because that's where that underdog, Aussie DNA idea comes about, and that's probably what we're going to see in the World Cup this year.
No,
for the
but
Socceroos.
I'll even take it back further than that, because let's go back to that. If we're going to compare gold generations, and we admit that we're all in one at the moment, or we're coming off the back of one with the Matildas, and I'll compare this with the golden generation that was coming between 2000 and 2007 for the Socceroos.
Yep,
they went and they performed admirably at the 2006 World Cup. They got out of their group that consisted of Brazil, Croatia, and Japan.
Yep.
Japan obviously wasn't where they are now, but they were still a formidable side.
Yep.
2007 Asian Cup was absolutely honking, and they got knocked out in the semi-finals in Hanoi.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. We don't have a culture that's all about winning trophies.
And they would have been favourites for that.
That's the thing. We've missed
for that 2007 tournament.
But it's something that we've got to, and that's why I go back to that comment that I made at the start with what Montemuro said about what do we want to be for the next 10 to 15 years. At some point, we've got to be able to handle expectation, develop players that can cope with that mentally. Otherwise, we're going to continue to look at those countries worldwide that can do it. Like I remember that World Cup, was it the semi-final that we had against England for the Matildas?
Yep.
Yeah, so we had. I was there in one of the pubs in Perth, and there was the opportunity for us to try and show that we can punch on with one of the best countries in the world that have developed so many great footballers, and we couldn't do it. Couldn't handle the pressure.
Yeah,
and it's the same with the Socceroos as well in part. So that's why it's like, for me, I look at this game against Japan and I go, you can be proud that you made it, but the best teams win it. And, it's a huge missed opportunity for us that with the team that we had, and there's not long left for this team, the fact that we didn't win it is a major disappointment.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that also a football philosophy thing where we're more comfortable being on the back foot and letting teams come at us rather than being the team that's going on the front foot and asserting our authority?
This is like, and we don't have time obviously, but this is a broader discussion about Australian football and the kinds of players that we develop. And it's like you look at some of the players that we're developing out of the A-League, and a lot of the dual national players are going over to Europe, or they're changing their allegiance and they're going to Croatia, for example, like we're seeing with Segacic. We're not exactly developing players that can punch on with the best countries in the world because it's not the way that we develop Australian footballers.
Yeah.
They have a little bit about them. We've got players that can fit in roles, but they don't have a lot of character or personality about how they play, or they don't have that mentality to go and stick it out in Europe for 2-3 years and play. That's why we've got A-League players coming back to Australia. So.
No, well, you're 100% right, and I've seen it at a local level as well.
Yeah.
Because we do get youngsters 18, 19 that will go over to certain leagues around the world.
Yep.
And I've heard some stories about just how brutal it can be over there.
Yeah.
Even to the point of being probably abusive, like that kind of brutal.
Yeah, yeah.
So, look, it's not easy. How do we get there? I'm not sure.
But it's a question that we should be asking as a country, as a footballing country that should have aspirations to dream big.
How do you if you need to send young footballers off to Europe at a young age?
Yeah.
How can you set them up for that? And then the other side of that is you're sending them over where you've got to guarantee their safety and everything else.
That's
like
true.
That. So
if we're talking exclusively on footballers, we need to change how we develop Australian footballers.
Yeah.
That's why you've got people that talk about the AIS and the standard of players that how many of the Matildas players, the best Matildas players, came through the AIS?
I couldn't tell you.
If we were to hazard a guess, would we say that most of the best players in there that are in their 30s came through the AIS? Would we say that a lot of the golden generation of the Socceroos came through the AIS?
Either the AIS or European academies.
There you go.
Yeah.
What do we have now?
Yeah, well, we don't have the AIS. So
it's about how we develop our play.
We're not going to get the AIS back.
No, but it's about how you develop players.
Yeah.
For me, that's where the conversation should originate to.
Does that start from like club level, or is this more like the Australian underage?
Even juniors. Because you look at how the juniors are being developed in other countries, in South America or in Europe compared to the juniors of our players. Like, there's definitely potential, but somewhere in the curriculum we're losing it.
So it's an entire footballing nation philosophy, not just the national system,
not just
but
that.
even like at the very base level.
Very base, yes.
Yeah, interesting conversation, boys. I'm sure it's one that we're going to pick up down the line. Anything else on the Asian Cup?
I'm happy with the crowd numbers for the Matildas in that final, especially.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
to have 75,000. Was it 75?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah,
awesome. So just hopefully those fans can come to the A-League Women's and support their local team.
Hey, here's one for you. You know how to get people back to the A-League Women's?
Go on.
Once these Matildas have left their clubs, there's talk about Sam Kerr leaving Chelsea.
Stanley, Rosario.
If they're not on the phone to her management saying we'll have her back in Perth, and I reckon there's a chance. Now that she's married up, she's got the baby.
She might want to go back.
She might want
to go to America. Though.
Have you seen the money Americans that are throwing players?
She has made a fair bit of cash at Chelsea. It
depends.
Still, would you rather take $1 million in America and live over there with your partner?
But it depends what her priorities are. Because if she's just got to that point after all she's been through and everything else like that, she might just want to settle down.
But what if
and play back in Perth? I don't know.
But she could.
I'm just saying, you'd be asking the question.
She could keep playing until she's in her late 30s. So I think she can probably make a few more.
You would have Sam Kerr Football Centre.
For Sam Kerr playing there.
Well,
they'd go to HBF. The amount of people that would want to come and watch her.
You would just
the star appeal.
You would have to.
Yeah. So that's what we should be doing.
It should be the same. They should be encouraging the same for Alana Kennedy to go back to Sydney FC, Caitlin Ford to go back to Sydney FC. This should be the lure.
Mackenzie Arnold,
yeah. All of which played in 2014 here in Perth.
I do remember that grand final against Canberra. Fuck.
Yep. Anyway. So I mean, this is what I'm saying is if they want to create that full blown connection between the Matildas golden generation and the women's A-League, they've got to bring these players back and play at least a couple of seasons in the A-League.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but I don't think we can be relying on them.
I'm not saying to rely that, but that should be
bring them back to develop the next generation.
Yeah. It's an added element
to spark the interest.
Yeah.
To kick on.
Agreed.
Yeah,
that's good.
There we go. Socceroos up against Cameroon. This weird FIFA series. I'm not. I'm just. Yeah, don't know too much about it.
Don't know too much about it. I know there was a lot of hissy fits that were made over Popper squad, particularly with the attack.
Yep.
Opportunity for those players to perform.
Yep.
Hopefully they can do that, and we can see some positive signs.
It's a little bit of a squad that's kind of, hey, are these guys up to going to the World Cup? Isn't it? It's a little bit. There's a few kind of names in there.
Yeah, I think Martin Boyle, AOR Mobile, Nishan Volupale. It's like
Ocon Exler.
I don't mind Ocon Exler getting a go. He's been one of the best midfielders in the A-League.
You reckon?
Easily.
Yeah.
Can you name three better?
No.
So I think he just deserves a go.
Yeah, but it's just whether he's a little bit raw.
Fuck it, he's got to get experience somewhere.
True.
Yeah, nothing else to really add to that. Chance to see the new kits as well.
Yeah. Hopefully they look good in person.
Yeah, I hope so too, because they always talk about them harking back to like the golden generation, the 06 kit.
The famous green and gold, and then the watermelon.
Yeah. They're cool.
Boys, a little bit happening locally across the weekend in the NPL. 2-1 win for Perth Red Star over Perth Glory. Perth Azuri 2-0 win over Balcatta. Dianella 1-1 with Fremantle City. Sterling went down 1-0 to Olympic Kingsway. Congrats to Sterling celebrating 40 years at Masso Park. I do remember that when that all kind of... I was only young.
They've got a big game this weekend, no? Sterling and Perth?
Yep, big one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, DT38 game.
No, looking forward to that. And Armidale went 1-1 with Sorrento. This weekend we will find Dianella up against Bayswater. Fremantle City will host Armidale. Olympic Kingsway against Perth Glory. Sorrento against Balcatta. Etna. Sterling Massies against Perth Azuri. As mentioned, DT38 game. Get down to Masso Park. That is all happening at 3 p.m. and support the cause there. And Western Knights, bit of a... Are they surprising at the moment? Or I've heard other people say, oh no, I was expecting them to have a good season, but they're currently sitting in second on the table. I think they've been
early days.
No, absolutely. But 8 points from 4 games. It's nothing.
Kingsway,
there's
looking
nothing
good.
to sneeze at. So Olympic Kingsway, Western Knights, Perth Red Star, Bayswater, Azuri, Macedonia, Perth Glory, Dianella White Eagles, Fremantle City, Sorrento, Armidale, and I have got some huge concern over Balcatta already.
It's pretty
they
likely.
need to get something out of this game this weekend against Sorrento to give themselves a chance to cling on to something, I feel. Plenty happening across elsewhere. State League on the weekend. I don't know if you boys caught any of that. I think Floriet's had a good win. There's a few other decent results. It's going to be a really good league to watch, boys. Keep your eye on that State League 1. I think it's going to be pretty tasty.
State League 2.
State League 2? Who plays in that?
My team.
Who's your team?
Look up in North Beach.
Yeah, come on.
Never heard of them.
Shut up.
So plenty to look forward to. MPLW, of course, on the weekend as well. So, check your local guides, as they say. Boys, anything else? We're just about to wrap things up. Anything else before we close out?
A-League Women's.
A-League Women's, yes. What's happening?
Yeah, we'll do a quick
1-1 with Central Coast.
No, Donuts.
Sorry. Yep, sorry.
Yeah, Donuts.
Double Donuts.
Another clean sheet at home, so at least defensively pretty good. Even with Onyi Zog out suspended. Still, missed chance, though. They've been really good at home, picked up a lot of points there.
Created bugger all.
Yeah, it didn't create a lot, and this was a chance to leap above Raw and Victory back into the top 6. They're now out of that by a point, but...
And Victory this weekend, isn't it?
No, Brisbane.
Raw away and then Victory.
And then Victory, yep.
Yeah, their fate is still very much in their own hands if they can... The task for now is just to go out and claim it and grasp onto it.
What are you watching?
The fixtures.
Oh, okay. I thought you were...
No, I'm seeing like the...
You reacted like you bloody...
No. It's like the Brisbane, they're 6, and then Melbourne Victory. I remember we played them earlier in the season, and didn't they like flog us like 3 or 4-0 or something?
Yeah, Victory, they did get one over us over there.
It's at home though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at home.
Yeah.
So that could be...
It'd be great if we can make it.
It could be season defining. And just one other thing quickly is that...
Go.
Against Central Coast, they wore the Pride jumpers, and you can get them on match-worn shirt, signed and match-worn, obviously, by the whole squad. So,
nice.
10 days left to bid on it. So if you want a signed shirt to add to your collection, then hop on there and, get a Glory Women's shirt.
Awesome stuff. Boys, that's where we'll wrap things up. Big thank you to you, Jackson Bassett. Big thank you to you, James Renton. Don't forget to tell everyone about the Far Post Perth podcast, now available on Spotify, on Apple, and also YouTube Music. I believe, boys, this is episode 20, so a few more to get through before the end of the year. Big thanks, as always, to ID Athletic and Trio Homes, and enjoy your football for the next week, and we'll catch you next Tuesday.